football fans, to our third edition of This Week on the Gridiron. I'm your host, Brooke Meanahan, joined by me, as always, Judah Loom, Matt St. Jean, and you're probably wondering who this face is right here. It's obviously not Julian Wiggum. Joining us today, host at ESPN Radio Syracuse, contributor to Syracuse.com, as well as former Bills Radio Network, and of course, the most important job that you have, our professor.
That's right.
Welcome in, Brent Axe.
That's right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, we're very excited.
Well, I love this. We're seeing class in action here. This is great.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking, like I said, you're our professor, class in action. You are our sports interviewing professor. So we're kind of put our your teaching to the test and talk a little bit about the orange right now.
It's only been a couple of weeks. So.
Hey, you only have us
I didn't know
for
there
2
was a
more weeks.
midterm in this class.
Well, we had Jason Benetti on Monday.
Wow.
The question master.
Yes.
He was
awesome.
He was awesome.
He's unbelievable.
He really
unbelievable. He's that computer in his head and the wit and the things that he comes up with. It's incredible.
I just like how devoted he was to not answering yes/no questions.
I'm so paranoid about that now. Can I tell you when I do interviews or when I talk to people, if it comes up on the show, to me, oh no, there was a yes/no question. Like sometimes you need to do yes/no questions.
Yeah.
Right? You can break the rules a little bit, Jason, but he was like, he's going to put you in yes/no jail apparently.
I mean, I'm afraid of saying the word "did" for anything. Everything I say has to start with how or what or why. If I ever say "did," I'm like, no, can't do it.
I'm doing it at home now instead of just saying, hey, did you eat the last apple? Why did you eat the last apple? How did you feel about it? So I hear you guys.
But as long as it's not talk to me about how you ate that apple.
All right. Can I just do not ask talk about it? Okay, please. People out there watching, wherever you are, talk about it's not a question, okay? It's a demand of somebody.
There goes that little bit of Julian.
Yes. All right, let's get started. Talk a little bit about the Orange. Recapping last week, one pretty big. They needed it after their loss to Middle Tennessee. They beat Central Michigan 41-17. So what did you like? What didn't you like out of them?
Well, what I liked is they got something that they had not really shown under Dino Babers, and that's they ran the ball. They had 300 yards rushing in that game, and that's the first time, if I'm not mistaken, under Babers that they rushed more than they passed, had more rushing yards than passing yards. I really like that their special teams came around because against Middle Tennessee, they gave 12 points away on special teams. So they got that back. And their defense, I think, has been a little more impressive than people anticipated at this point. So, look, this is LSU you got this week, but they had to get their confidence back one way or the other, and I think Central Michigan really accomplished that.
Yeah, like you said, LSU coming up. I'm actually going to the game. Pretty excited. Death Valley,
Fantastic.
first time. Yeah.
Fantastic. You'll have fun.
Yeah, I hope so. It's going to be a good time, hopefully. Though they just got kind of their ass beat last week against, what, Mississippi State it was?
37-7.
Yeah, so does Syracuse have a chance this week?
Well, it's kind of like that Lloyd Christmas. You're telling me there's a chance, from Dumb and Dumber. But look, LSU's they're breaking in a new starting quarterback. They're very inexperienced at wide receiver. Now, as we heard, we're taping this on Wednesday, we hear that Darius Geis is, in Ed Ogeron's words, very questionable for this game, their lead running back. But this is still LSU, and speed kills, especially when you're playing Syracuse. And they've got so much speed on defense that I think it kind of neutralizes what Syracuse does offensively with that high pace, offense that Dino Babers loves to run. So here's what they have a chance at, Brooke. Covering the point spread for entertainment purposes only. Are they going to go to Death Valley and beat LSU? I'm not going to go that far. But 23 is a big number now that we're seeing some developments with LSU that could go against them.
Yeah, and LSU's never been a real offensive juggernaut in the SEC. They always have very athletic defenses,
right,
which is and they're big. This isn't like they're fast and crafty. These are big boys that are going to give that offensive line a big test.
And what Mississippi State did last week, and it was interesting because Dino Babers, the head coach of Syracuse, even said this week that we can't beat LSU like Mississippi State did. What Mississippi State did last week was they physically overwhelmed LSU. Well, Syracuse isn't going to do that. Another thing that Mississippi State did really well is they ran away from Arden Key. Arden Key is one of the best defensive players in college football, and if Syracuse is going to have any success on offense, even Ed Ogeron said this week, they brought it up to him. They said, well, Mississippi State ran away from Arden Key, and this is when I'm going to do my really bad Ed Ogeron impression because he's the greatest accent ever. Well, that was a good game plan that they had there. So Syracuse has to find Arden Key and run the other way because he is that good. You mentioned the speed, but one thing I'm wondering about, Matt, with LSU, they've become known as cornerback U, and they have a lot of speed at cornerback. They have a lot of talent at quarterback, but this is not your typical LSU stock with NFL talent right now, secondary. They're still a couple years away from that. They lost a ton of guys to the NFL last year, so they've got to rebound from that.
And Steve Ishmael, huge threat on the outside. And Coach Baber said last week that Dungy played intelligent football against Central Michigan, and I think that's what he needs to do again. Because there were a couple plays, I was covering the game for the News House, that he really maneuvered the pocket really, really well, where I was like, whoa, where did this come from? And ran the ball when it was appropriate, but, and made some smart decisions down the field. But it's going to be happening 3 seconds faster than it is against Central Michigan.
It really is. But Ishmael, he's the leading receiver in the country right now.
Yeah.
He's the first guy in Syracuse history to have consecutive games with 11 catches. So, you need a lot of him, but you got to find some other guys. We don't know how healthy Irv Phillips is going to be for this game, and he's so central to that offense. And, it's an opportunity. And what I think Dino's got to do, guys, is, what do you got to lose? Go in there and take some shots. What's in your bag of tricks? Walk out of Death Valley saying, we did everything we could to beat this team. I think that's what Syracuse fans are looking for. Just, go in there and let's see what you got.
Have you talked to him yet?
I have.
What's his mindset right now?
He wouldn't tell me. I asked him, the question I asked him this week was, okay, so you said earlier this week that we can't win like Mississippi State, so how does Syracuse beat LSU? And he wouldn't tell me. He said, oh, you sound like somebody from LSU right now trying to get my game plan. But I got a sense from Dino that he knows they're kind of a wounded animal right now. He thinks Darius Geis is going to play. He's not buying this whole notion for a moment. But the sense I got from Dino in talking to him was that it's kind of what we just said. Just watch. We've got something for these guys. And we're going to go in there and play them, and they're going to embrace Death Valley, and they're going to embrace what this is all about. And he's a very confident guy. I think that Mississippi State thing earlier in the week, kind of let's pivot over here. Let's make it think like we're intimidated by LSU, and I like that strategy.
Highly unlikely, but what do you think are like some keys for them to do to kind of make it a game?
We brought up one. They got to get away from Martin Key.
Yeah.
They can't let him dominate. I think they found a way to run the football last week, and that's going to be a little harder against LSU. But I'd like to see them use a lot of different running backs because you brought it up, Matt. Eric Dungy's one of their leading rushers right now, and Eric Dungy can run the ball. And you want your quarterback to run the ball when he can. I mean, Lamar Jackson can do it, and I'm a Bills fan. Tyrod Taylor can do it, but you want to be careful about that. So utilize Mo Neal as much as you can. If Irv Phillips is healthy, utilize him as much as you can. As we mentioned, take some shots. And the pass rush has been a little more effective than I thought it would be. So in any game like this, you need turnovers. So how does Syracuse get 3 turnovers? And LSU's quarterback, this is his 3rd start. They're already at LSU calling for Miles Brennan, the backup, to push Danny Etling a little bit at starter. So, can Syracuse take advantage of that? Can they get this guy to turn the ball over? That's going to be huge.
Well, speaking of Dungy rushing the ball, that's a big part of his game, but are we going to see as many QB-specific run calls against LSU? Does Babers want Dungy taking those kinds of hits from that caliber of player?
Well, he'd be smart to take them when they're there. Because last year, Syracuse goes to Clemson. Best defense in the country and all the speed that they have. And Dino said in that game they didn't have any called runs for Eric Dungy. And that's the game he got hurt because Clemson just has that speed on defense and found him on the field. So I think they would be smart to take what's there. You got to call some runs for him to kind of keep the defense honest a little bit, and he can do it. But you don't want Eric Dungy to be your leading rusher in this game. Let's put it that way. Be conservative, take what's there. 7 or 8 rushes as opposed to 17 or 18, as we've seen in some prior games.
So we talked to Julian about this the past 2 weeks. Who have you seen on the team that's kind of been standing out?
Sean Riley stood out last week. Here you have a guy who's 5'8", 155 pounds out there, and it's going to be a little tougher against LSU to be effective, but I think Syracuse found another weapon there. I've been really impressed with Jordan Martin stepping in for Antoine Cordy at safety, and last week Rodney Williams was great in that secondary. On defense, I've been really impressed with the pass rush because I didn't really know who up front was going to take care of that. They've been leaning on their linebackers a little bit, do some pass rush. It was interesting to see this week, guys, that Alton Robinson has been moved up on the depth chart, and he's a transfer they just got over the summer, and they're going to kind of lean on him a little more heavily because he's got speed, and you got to match speed with speed against a team like LSU. I'm still wondering about that second wide receiver because we mentioned Steve Ishmael. it was supposed to be Jamal Custis. And Jamal Custis is one of those guys who gets off the bus and you're like, whoa, that's a football player. But he's had some injuries and he's just had some struggles so far. So can Devin Butler kind of step up in that? And that's Devin Butler, the wide receiver. There's also a cornerback named Devin Butler on this team. Can he step up and be that number 2 wide receiver?
Gotcha. Any NFL prospects on the team besides, Dungy that you're looking who can make the next step?
I'm wondering if even Dungy's an NFL prospect because he's such a college quarterback. I don't know if he can make that transition to the NFL because there's so many spread quarterbacks that just don't make it in the NFL. You got to learn how to play behind center. Yeah. But he certainly has the talent and the speed. I'm just wondering if he has kind of the acumen to do it. Steve Ishmael certainly is an NFL talent. I think Zaire Franklin is an NFL talent. I think if Antoine Cordy can kind of get bigger as he goes here and kind of get in that training program, he's certainly an NFL talent. Those are the 3 that jump out at me that I think could get drafted. Who are the guys that could end up in a camp somewhere and impress somebody? I think we'll have to wait down the road to see that, but those are the big 3.
Does Zaire's size, does it bother you at all?
No, because I think he makes up for it. NFL teams love character guys. They love smart players, and he sees the field well. He's been a 3-time captain. He's one of the only captains in the history of Syracuse football to be a captain, freshman, sophomore, and junior year. So I think what he makes up for in size, what he lacks in size, I should say, makes up for it in knowing the game. And just one of those guys always around the ball, and he knows where to be. So I think they'll give him a shot because of that.
Talking Syracuse players in the NFL, any specific favorite Syracuse player to make it?
Current or former?
Yeah.
Like all time?
All time.
Wow. I mean, I was a big Donovan McNabb fan.
Oh,
I mean, that was when Syracuse was, last Syracuse was mighty Syracuse. When Donovan McNabb, went out there and, beat Miami 66-13 and led Syracuse to the Orange Bowl and led Syracuse to the Fiesta Bowl. So he's my favorite guy that I kind of watched and saw develop as an NFL player here. But, just go through the years of all those players that have gone on to the National Football League. I mean, Dwight Freeney was dominant. I love watching him. And, going back to when I was a kid, seeing, guys like Rob Moore go on to the National Football League. And, I mean, the names just really flow. Current? Well, it's not a long list. Guys, I love the fact that Ryan Nassib and Doug Marrone are now reunited in Jacksonville, and I hope they can get something going there. Because
QB controversy.
Yeah, well, is it a controversy when Blake Bortles is your starting quarterback at this point? That's an upgrade.
Leave Blake alone. Leave him alone.
Don't trust the pew.
Yeah.
He's been great.
The punter for the Broncos, man. The punter for the Broncos. And don't forget Chandler Jones. I miss him in New England. I was sad when they traded him away for a guard that they just gave away, that they cut. That's always the worst. When you give up like a good asset for like the 2nd round pick and then you're just like, okay, see ya.
What a waste.
Yeah, the guard. All right, later.
What a throwback. That was Big East football, man.
Yeah, we love the Big
Old school.
I miss the Big East. All right.
All right, thank you so much for joining us for a little segment of Syracuse Orange. Again, ESPN Radio Syracuse host, contributor to Syracuse.com, and former Bills Radio Network. Brent Axe, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's transition a little bit into the NFL. We're going to include you in all of this. Feel free to ask questions. We're bringing in Matt's friend. He's in London, as I'm told. We have a London game this week. The Ravens. The Ravens and the Jaguars.
Maxwell, you there, bud?
I am indeed. Hello.
Can we hear him on there?
How are the levels over there?
Good.
Good. Max, how's it going, buddy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm very well, Matt. How are you?
I am doing excellent. You don't have to dial up your accent, bud.
So kind of give us a bio of
What I sound like. Just having a spot of tea.
All right, Max. So I met Max when I was studying over at Lancaster University, and I played for the Lancaster Bombers, which is the American football club over there.
I was going to say, what
Fun
sport
time.
is that?
American football club, the Lancaster Bombers, and Max was my center. So, and fun fact, we have the same birthday.
What position are you?
I played quarterback back in.
You were a quarterback?
I was quarterback.
Never would
Oh,
have guessed.
God.
Yeah. Maxwell, please
Like a
please
big
tell
man.
them. Please tell them.
He was the best quarterback our team, I think, has ever had in its history.
Well, how long was the team going since then?
He was alumni, but he was the best.
How long was the
He
team?
football in England has seen.
You know,
All right, now just not get carried away here.
I don't
I'm
think
not-
his head's gonna fit in this room.
Yeah.
You might want to tone it down a
Was
little
this
bit.
touch football?
Did you tell him everything to
say?
say before you called him?
We prepped. We prepped.
You're reading from the
He's
script
reading
there?
the script right now.
All right, well, do you remember a play call from that team?
I think my favorite play call was when we went out of black formation on the goal line, and we did the bootleg pass. I think we scored like 5 touchdowns
Is
on
that
that.
spider two wide banana? What do you
I
call it?
don't know. Max, what play was that called? Do you remember?
Yeah, it would have been a fake 77.
Yeah.
Fake 17, sorry.
And then I would just throw it to another American on the team from Wisconsin, Eric DeClean was my tight end, and he
Matt
threw it
Park
over
is
him.
calling.
Oh, Matt, I'm just so
You
popular.
should switch over.
Should we switch over?
We can't. This
Max
is
is
long
out
distance.
from
This
England.
is
We
long
can't
distance.
switch over.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
So,
can join calls.
Max, you've been to how many NFL London games have you been to?
I think this is the 2008 was the first year I went, and I've been every year except for last year. So this is that's my 9th year of going now.
What has been the favorite game that stood out to you so far in 10 years almost?
Chargers game in 2008 was my absolute favorite. That's the first NFL game I ever saw live, so that was a big moment for me. But I was going to see the Pats play, and with Matt, that was a pretty good game. We had a good time.
Yeah,
Was
we
that
played-
scripted too?
No, we played the Buccaneers when Josh Freeman was the starting quarterback.
Wow.
And
Must have been a
it
tough
was
game.
it was 28-0 before you blinked an eye.
Oh, my goodness.
But it was I had a blast. And Max, the best part about NFL London, the jerseys. Jersey watching is
Such a mix of jerseys, yeah.
what are some of the jerseys are you expecting to see this weekend with the Ravens and Jaguars in town?
There'll be a lot of Ray Lewis jerseys there, no doubt. Like, England likes the Ravens quite a lot, and they like Ray Lewis.
Wow.
An awful lot, I'd say. He's probably one of the more popular players, so we'll see a lot of his jerseys. From the Jaguars side, because we say Jaguars, not Jaguars.
I say Jaguars. I made sure I introduced you Jaguars. It was so weird.
Jerseys, maybe?
What about
What are you
like,
going to be wearing?
Yeah.
I will probably be wearing the Lancaster Bombers, number 56.
All right.
Max Mitchell jersey.
Oh, I was hoping that didn't say St. Jean on the back.
No. I still have my jersey.
I had a St. Jean jersey. Those ones are pretty rare. I have to get one of those. But
Max, you might be wearing a Ryan Nassib jersey pretty soon. Just saying, man. My man's going to take over there in Jacksonville.
How has watching the NFL in London, what has that experience been like for you?
and watching the games.
Yeah, just the different atmosphere.
I've been to a few games in America when I've been over there. I've been to a game with Matt, and it is so much better.
You need a new friend.
You actually have a home crowd.
Shut up.
Whereas in the UK, like, people get hyped up for it, but they don't understand the flow of the game as well. And they just cheer for everything that happens, as opposed to, cheering on your home team. Just anything good that happens, they're like, yeah, we love it, America.
America, USA. Who is your team?
My team's the New Orleans Saints. They're the first team that saw it at Wembley.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah. It's a rough year so far for you, Max, huh?
I the Patriots too, because they're the first team I ever saw live. So
Oh.
Matt's my friend and he likes that.
Oh, gee.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Tom Brady's a fucking saint.
We are live!
We're alive.
Okay. There you go. That's what Brady fans will do for you.
They're all
Hey, we
the
love
same.
it. We love it.
All the same.
So, Max, tell us about beyond the NFL, what football is like in the UK, because it's actually pretty popular playing-wise.
Oh, it's very popular. So I coach a college team now, and there's probably about 70 or so colleges, universities we would call them, in the UK that have teams. It's all amateur stuff, and then we also have an adult league as well, all amateur as well, with 3 tiers. Again, I think it's probably about 60 teams or so. I play for the London Hornets. Shout out to my Hornets fan. And yeah, we loved it. Like, there's a lot of interest in it. I think there's several thousand guys who are involved in the sport at some level.
Wow.
There's the grassroots, under 18 non-padded stuff. There's a ton of stuff that people can get involved in. Big flag teams as well. Yeah, it's popular. People love it here, and it's growing year on year. Every year more teams, every year more people involved. We like it. We can't get enough. We've got 4 games at Wembley this year, and they sell out every single time.
That's awesome.
All right, well, Max, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your evening across the pond in London.
It is a pleasure. Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Have fun.
All right, have fun at the game this weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh, I wish I had a cool accent.
It's fascinating to see how the NFL continues to go there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I wonder if we should ask Max, if you put it, let's say Jacksonville moves there, just for argument's sake, would they get more fans than the 2 teams in Los Angeles? Because they're not off to a good start in LA,
Yeah.
in the
That's a
NFL.
good question.
But see, they're NFL fans. It's the same thing when the Bills used to go to Toronto. They go to Toronto, and yes, there's some Bills fans there, but you'd see jerseys from every team.
Yeah.
So they're more NFL fans, they're more football fans. You were there, man, you know better than I, than they are like, oh, we like the Patriots or something like that. And Jacksonville's the team that goes there all the time.
Yeah, I honestly, I think that it's a spectacle. So, like, they do enjoy the game of football, they do participate in it, but, you know, soccer, rugby, those are king over there.
Yeah.
Those have the loyal followings.
Yeah.
You're gonna have people that are like, oh, this is cool, like Max was saying, like, oh, go team. But like, realistically, if there's a London team, I don't know if you're gonna sustain that year over year. You'll probably get like opening day that will be huge, and then it will just kind of slowly fizzle away.
I wish Americans had like a sport that they could just go to, like, yeah, London.
Well, I mean, that's I mean, talk about this all the time. Like, imagine having a soccer team and that being your only team. Like, if the Browns were your only team, you lived and died by their success. Like, how much more intense would the cheering be?
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and how much more devastating or exhilarating would a loss or a win be?
Still devastating.
It's interesting.
No matter how.
Interesting to think about it.
All right. So the Ravens, Jaguars.
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 Just one game this week in London. Let's move on to week 3 games. Baltimore is a 4.5 favorite. So let's see. We're just gonna go around and see who has who you guys taking, who's gonna cover, who's not. So let's start with you.
Well, you know, with Baltimore, it's all on defense, right? It seems like we always come back to Baltimore's defense, and you know, Joe Flacco is the elite. You know, we've got to bring that up, of course, but you know, and he's not. And you know, they've got Jacksonville, but I always wonder what the factor is with going across the pond, right?
Yeah.
Who handles it better? Jacksonville's used to it. It's not like Baltimore is coming from Los Angeles. They
Right.
both have kind of the same flight and the same circumstances there. So who handles being, you know, 6 hours ahead better, and can, you know, that Jacksonville offense against that Baltimore defense?
Yikes.
4.5 might not be enough points. I can't take Baltimore and the points more in this game.
Yeah, I have the Ravens too. They're leading the league in turnovers right now. They have 8 interceptions so far as a team through 2 games. And who loves to throw away the ball? Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
We may even see Nassib in this game. But, you know, you have Allen Robinson down. You just don't have – they don't have the same weaponry that they've had in the past. If Leonard Fournette can get going on the ground, they may be able to keep it close. But, you know, it's hard to pick against the Ravens in that defense.
You know, it was interesting. Jacksonville went from like 9 sacks in week 1 to they had nothing last week. How do you go from 9 sacks to nothing from week to week? It's incredible to me.
Yeah.
I think we're forgetting about Matt Ward. I think that's the backup. Or no, it's Chad Henne.
Chad Henne.
Chad
Forget
Henne.
about Chad Henne.
Come on now.
All right.
Don't disrespect Chad Henne in my presence.
All right.
Come on now.
We're talking about the Nassib Marone
The
connection.
Nassib Marone catch.
Just give him time, guys. He just got there. Now they're shipping him over to England. Just give him a couple of weeks, and he will gloriously bring the Jaguars back to Providence.
I mean, I think you guys pretty much nailed it with what you guys were saying. I mean, the Ravens have a great defense. Jacksonville does not have an offense that can really, you know, overwhelm them. And then on top of that, everybody was kind of saying, you know, the Jaguars' defense is great. Week 1 and then week 2 is like what happened to him. So I think he's not elite, but, you know, he does enough to kind of get them to win, Joe Flacco. So this is pretty much an easy game for the Ravens. It should be, at least.
Yeah, definitely. West Coast, Rams at 49ers. Los Angeles getting 2.5-point favorite. Jude, you want to take this one away?
49ers is just going to be one of those type of years for them where they're going to struggle to win games. They're not going to win a lot of games. The Rams, they've played solid defense over the past 2 weeks, even though they lost last week. But I like what they're doing with Gurley as well, where they're kind of getting him more involved. Even if he's not able to run the ball well, they're still keeping him involved in the passing game. So that's helping them out. Jared Goff, he looks much better in the second year. And again, the 49ers just aren't a great team right now, so this should be a win for the Rams.
I have the Niners in this one, actually. That defense is actually pretty good. And Hoyer's gotten a tough draw. He comes out with Carolina, Seattle, are the two defenses that he saw in the first 2 weeks. So I think the defense is going to keep him in it, and Hoyer is going to play just well enough, and I think they're going to win at home.
I can't wait to not watch this game on Thursday night. That's what's interesting. I mean, these Thursday night football games are dreadful.
Awful.
Players hate watching it. I can't remember watching a Thursday night game like, wow, that was an amazing football game.
Mm-hmm.
So there is one thing that interests me about this, and that's Jared Goff. I think, you know, they threw Jared Goff into the fire last year.
Yeah.
And it was tough for him, but he's starting to make some throws. He's starting to come around a little bit here, and he's got a team he can kind of feast on this week on the Niners. But again, Thursday night throws everything off because these games they're always low scoring and mediocre, and you get that anyway out of these two teams, I think. So I'll probably, see what's on the DVR Thursday night.
A lot of people are ready to
The
fall off
Fosters.
with
The
bus.
Fosters, great show. Great show. Just a little shout out.
Shout out to Tyler in our class. He was like Brandon's girlfriend, apparently. All right, let's have you take this one away.
Okay.
Your Bills. They are not the favorite in this game. Denver actually is,
Yeah.
obviously. Big defense, so.
It was such a contrast last week with the Bills. Their defense could not look any better. They shut down Cam Newton, which they should, because Sean McDermott coached in Carolina for a few years. He should know how to get after Cam Newton. But all the Bills needed was one competent offensive drive, one, to win that game. And they came up just short, Zay Jones on the 4th and 11th play. Now you get Denver. I mean, Denver just completely clubbed Dallas, okay? Trevor
That
Siemian.
game was so much fun to watch.
It really was a lot of fun to watch. I can tell you really love watching the Cowboys lose that. But I'm surprised to see the emergence of Trevor Siemian, and when you talk to people that cover the Broncos or read about it, he just needed to get healthy. And he's getting healthy, and C.J. Anderson's number 2 in the NFL right now rushing. So as a Bills fan, they've got Denver this week, they've got Atlanta next week. I'm just kind of like, I'm just going to hope for the
Next
best.
season.
Yes, hope for the best.
Well, see, that's
Trust
As
the
always.
process. Trust the
There's
process.
always
guys.
next year.
CJ Anderson is the interesting part of that because I think he's making Trevor Siemian better. We talked about it last week. I said whoever sets the tone on the ground is going to win that game. And Denver, you can't say enough how much they set the tone and how much Dallas did not. Zeke had 8 yards.
They've got a great 1-2
I
punch
think that
too.
was
Jamal
more
Charles,
exciting.
he's not looking bad coming back from injury. He's carrying a yard, still getting about 5 yards a clip. So
And the other thing with the Bills, guys, is something Carolina showed last week that I'm wondering how many teams are going to pick up on this. They shut down LaShawn McCoy.
yeah,
And the Bills are so reliant on LaShawn McCoy. So, what's on film that these great defenses are going to pick up on to help Brooks' fantasy team, right? He's on the fantasy team, right? So
Yes.
come on. Come through for my girl,
he
right?
had like 0 yards. in the
First year.
half.
The Bills had 39 total yards in the first half of that game.
Oh.
Ugh.
Yikes.
It's usually not a good
Yikes,
game.
indeed.
Did you watch every Sunday?
I have to. It's just ingrained in me now. I just have to.
Things-
Okay, I'm there
it's
with
like-
you.
I think
I'm
it's pretty
there.
much sold. We all are just gonna take the Broncos in this one. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Taking the Broncos.
All right, Saints at the Panthers. Carolina 6-point favorite.
Carolina 6-point favorite. I'm taking the Panthers. I overestimated the Saints last week. I'm not going to do it again this week. The Panthers, that defense is back. They are mean. And Cam Newton's slowly getting more and more healthy. But it is concerning how much they're not running the ball. And that's supposed to be their thing. Panther ball is supposed to be a very good ground game, and they just aren't doing it. But I think they're still going to beat the Saints.
I think they've been trying to run the ball. They just haven't been successful. They're trying to deploy Christian McCaffrey, but they haven't been effective in getting him those touches in open space. They're running the ball with him. He's just not finding any holes in that line. I still have the Panthers winning, but I'm not happy with what I'm seeing from their offense yet. It was supposed to be more dink and dunk passes, but I watched the game last week. He was still throwing a lot downfield to Kelvin Benjamin, and that's not bad. But at the same time, you're trying to protect Cam Newton, and he did end up getting hurt. He hobbled off the field a little bit, so you don't want that to turn into an every week situation.
It's early, but I'm wondering when Adrian Peterson's going to be used by this team, and they've kind of made it clear so far. You're a bit player. You were not brought in here to be the #1 back. He certainly made his displeasure known about that on the sideline last week. But yeah, this may be one of those games where you can utilize him. It is a great Carolina defense, like you said, Matt. But the Saints is the same old problem. It's defense. We know they can score. We know they've got the weapons, but can you stop anybody?
And they just traded their first-round pick linebacker, Stephon Anthony, to the Dolphins. So that's just another piece they lost.
All right, we're going to go through the next ones kind of like rapid fire. I'm just going to point.
Let's do it.
See what you guys think. Jude, you want to start it off? Steelers at Chicago. They are a 7.5 favorite.
Steelers.
Steelers?
No, I don't really need to speak about it.
Yeah.
The Bears' defense is better than I thought, but Steelers.
All right, you want to talk about my Browns and how they're a 1-point favorite against the Colts?
Wow.
0-2, 0-2.
That's not fake news. The Browns are favorites.
The Browns are favorites.
They are a favorite in the National Football League.
favorite.
Wow.
I don't know about Deshaun Kaiser and his migraines. Corey Coleman just broke his hand yet again,
weird.
so.
Yeah, that injury is tough to.
Browns fans need to team up.
We feel the pain. We just feel it.
So, I mean, I feel like this is a must-win for the Browns, but they're not going to win. I think the Colts are going to win. I think Brissett is more comfortable in the offense. It's just another week, and he's going to clean up those mistakes that he made last week, and he's going to take it.
Vikings, Buccaneers, even at Minnesota.
Somebody asked me a great question the other week on my radio show. They said, who's the second best team in the NFC? Because Atlanta's the clear best team right now. These are two teams that can eventually, I think, take that title. Minnesota's defense against Jameis Winston this week. I love seeing Tampa Bay and the emergence of Winston and how he's becoming kind of a franchise quarterback there. But I think that Mike Zimmer's defense can rattle him a little bit. I think they can challenge him a little bit. I'm going to take the Vikings in this game, beat Tampa Bay.
All right, Texans at Patriots. Patriots 13-point favorite. Who you got?
Deshaun Watson came out, didn't have the rest of the days, but he did end up winning the game. He won the game for them with his long touchdown. But it's going to be a different tone this week. The Patriots, they looked great last week against the Saints. They're going to take care of business at home.
Jets taking on the Dolphins in New York.
Wow,
Miami.
I'm getting the riveting games. I get to choose Browns, Colts, and now Dolphins,
This
Jets.
is my order. You put it in this order.
The Dolphins don't look
I've got an appointment to watch paint dry this weekend, so that's where I'll be for these games. So Dolphins, Jets. I mean, the Jets are awful. I was looking up stats earlier. They are dead last in passing and rushing defense, and that's supposed to be like their Todd Bowles' thing, right? Got to go Dolphins. Smoking Jay. He looks like he's getting good rapport with Jarvis Landry, which is going to be huge for that team. And they just got Stephon Anthony.
Don't fall in love with Jay Cutler. He's going to look great for a few weeks, and he's going to burn.
I'm not falling in love with him. I'm just saying after one
against the Jets you can't, but long term, don't fall in love with Jay Cutler.
All right, Eli Manning and the Giants taking on Carson Wentz and the Eagles. Wentz and the Eagles are 6.5-point favorite, 6-point favorite.
I got to defer to the Giants.
Let me gear up my violin here.
I'm no Julian Wiggum here. I'm not gonna
look into the camera.
I'm not gonna look into the camera. I don't want the
people
to see the pain in my face, but my goodness, they look
look
so bad. I mean, they just can't do anything on offense. I said it to begin the season. I hate that I was correct. They have too many questions. Can Eli not make stupid plays? Can the line hold him up? Can they run the ball? And all three answers were no. I mean, I know we're trying to do rapid fire, and I can go on and on. I'm going to just say the Eagles are going to win this game. I can make the argument that Odell wasn't 100%. But even if he was,
need to be 100%.
What's that going to do? I mean, just double Odell, and they still can't do anything else. So they can essentially play 10 on 9 because they're doubling Odell, and they still wouldn't be able to manufacture any points. The Eagles are going to win this game. Let's
you can hang out with us on Sunday. Matt can do his own thing.
Do you like how Jude's octave level just slowly climbs whenever he's talking about the Giants?
It's 2 days
later. As he looks out and imagines it.
It's 2 days later. He still hasn't gotten out of the system.
Yeah.
They look so bad.
He's been holding it in all
so bad. I can't believe
Well, listen, it was a good thing they made all those moves to address that offensive line. Oh, wait, they didn't make any moves to address the offensive line.
I'm not against them trying Pugh at left tackle because Eric Flowers, my goodness.
Oh, he's awful.
I wonder if he knows what a left tackle is supposed to do, because he looked like he was playing patty cake while everybody was just running by him. But you know what? It's a conversation for another show. Let's.
All right, you can hang out with us on Sunday while we cry all together. Bills, Browns,
Hey,
Giants.
listen,
While Matt sits in his glory as the Patriots take on the Texans as a 13-point favorite.
Go watch your Super Bowl highlight film to feel better.
Yeah.
I'm going from, hey, we're a Super Bowl contender to, can we
Go
win a
watch
game?
the
Yeah,
Tyreek
I
catch-up.
can't wait till I'm in edit and I just play like the saddest song during that whole monologue.
Oh my goodness.
I've got that to look for.
All right. Patriots, Texans, New England 13-point favorite.
Is
Can
that
we see
right?
the same thing from Tom Brady?
We already did
I
that.
did that game, yep.
We already did that game.
The Patriots?
Yeah.
I did.
Where was I?
You're right here. When
You
asked me about
announced it. Oh, we need to do Falcons Lions.
Well, I didn't X that one off. I was just so wrapped up in Jude's
Brent, would you like to
monologue
do
about the Giants.
Falcons Lions?
Well, you always got to wonder about a team coming off Monday Night Football. Who did Detroit beat on Monday Night Football?
geez.
I forgot who that was. Oh, there's the Giants. that they beat.
Just dig his grave now.
So Atlanta is going to jump on that, I think. I'm not impressed with Detroit. Don't take this the wrong way, Jude, but I need to see more out of Detroit. Atlanta's just rolling right now. The way they went through Green Bay last week, the way Matt Ryan's playing, the way defense is playing right now. Atlanta's rolling, and I always want to favor a team that's going up against a team coming off Monday nights. Give me the Falcons to cover and win that game.
Definitely.
All right, real quick, guys. I'm just going to go back and forth between you two, Seahawks and Titans. Titans, 2.5-point favorite. Matt?
I'm shocked that the Titans are a 2.5-point favorite against Seattle.
Matt, I don't need an explanation. I just need you to pick somebody. We're running out of time here. Real quick. What does real quick mean to you?
Seahawks.
Thank you. Bengals at Packers, Green Bay. 9-point favorite.
Packers bounce back.
You had to add a bounce back in there. Chiefs at Chargers, Kansas City, 3-point favorite.
Go Chargers, go!
Redskins, Raiders, Oakland, 3-point favorite.
Oakland, let's go.
Last but not least, will Ezekiel Elliott get more than 10 yards this week? As they're in Atlanta, Dallas, 3-point favorite, or Arizona, excuse me.
Old man Palmer doesn't have it anymore, Cowboys.
All right. Now that that's done, let's move on to fantasy.
Yeah.
Speaking of fantasy, I just want everybody to know I beat Matt this week.
Actually, this may be like where I play like the sad music,
Yes.
like the Celine
Brandon
Dion
Marshall couldn't
Titanic
get
song.
it done on
Might be
Monday
a
night.
recurring theme this week. Huh?
Is this
Well,
legit
I
or
don't
is
know.
this
Sad
the,
music
is this
all
the broken
throughout.
clock theory? Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, no, Brandon
happened?
Marshall, both weeks, I don't think I could. Jimmy Graham, like,
you-
where are you at, Jimmy Graham?
Did you see the wide open throw? Brandon Marshall just kind of said, "Oh, I play football." Too late.
Dude, you know what happened? It's that haircut. He has that awful, like,
That's
I don't even know what he's
exactly it.
doing. Haircut, play good, look good, play
Look
good,
good,
look
look
good,
good.
play good,
Yeah.
play good. That haircut is hideous, hideous.
Have you looked in the mirror?
I think my hair is.
Whoa!
Wow.
Whoa!
Wow.
Brooke is serving today.
I have so much sass
Listen.
today.
Whoa!
Wow.
Whoa! Did you have
You
breakfast?
don't
No, I have
talk,
not eaten.
man.
You don't talk about another person's hair on camera. On camera.
It took him hours to do that.
I'll say it after the camera turns off. All right, let's get started. Studs, duds, week 2. Quarterbacks.
Ooh. Stud, Jacoby Brissett, baby.
Oh.
He's not even ranked in the top 30 for ESPN.
Yeah.
Not even ranked in the top 30. He's gonna have a day. Dud, Kirk Cousins. I think it's the second week in a row I've had him as a dud. He's not good.
Stud Derek Carr. He's been rolling so far. Going up against the Redskins this week. They're not looking the best on defense right about now. I think the train keeps running with them. Dud, Marcus Mariota's going against Seattle. Seattle doesn't look impressive, but it's not because of that defense. That defense is still real. Offensively, they need to get it together, but defensively, Mariota still got a tough test.
All right, you want to give me a running back now?
Running back, Le'Veon has come out the gate slow. I think this is the week they get him started. They get him enough touches, and they give him a couple more receptions. He's been running the ball mostly. They haven't really included him in the passing game. For the dud, I'm going to say that the Kareem Hunt hype train is going to slow down this week.
See, I think
Geez, that
that was a week too soon on that.
Chargers are a sneaky
Yeah, you
good
said that last week.
I did.
defense, at least against the run. He slowed down last week, still came out with 20 points, but most of it came on one run. I think this is the week where he kind of really sees what the NFL defense is like.
Running back for you?
Zeke is my stud for this week.
Bounce back.
Bounce back week. Arizona defensive line is not good. They lost a lot of
Yeah, they
pieces
did play
this.
the Broncos, number
They-
1 D, basically, in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean they.
I loved every second of it.
Yeah, me too. Especially since like we all said that Zeke was gonna have an off game, and Julie was like,
He's
"When?
gonna win, right?
When did Zeke get
Can we edit that?
Who stopped that Zeke?
No one
We're
will
editing
stop
that
this
in.
man.
In like slow motion.
Yes.
Like, get out of here. All right, and then
Dud.
Dalvin Cook, Buccaneers defensive line. Those guys are big. They're mean,
Yeah.
and he's not going to have a lot of room. And their linebackers are fast, so it's not like he's going to be making a difference out of the backfield either.
More than welcome to weigh
I'm
in.
going to say, sorry, Brooke, LaShawn McCoy. That
Yeah.
Denver defense is going to be
He's
all
your
over.
dud?
He's my dud. I hate to say it, and I'm a Bills fan, but I just kind
I
of
guess I should put him on my
Self-deprecation of this
Denver
group.
is going to approach this game, so I hope I'm wrong and your fantasy team beats his again because of
I don't
LaShawn
know who I'm
McCoy.
putting this
But not
week.
feeling good about him this week.
You know what? I often employ a tactic, like at least last year. It's not working so much this year, but I'd be like, yeah, the Giants are gonna lose, and then they'd win. I think that's a little bit of what you're doing.
So
right
you're
now,
one of those people who are like, oh my god, I did so bad on that test. I didn't even study, and you get back, it's 100% A.
Yeah.
Like that kind of person.
I wish.
It's better than being
Oh,
like,
look at
oh,
my
I didn't do
training.
as good. I didn't do as good as I hoped for, and then you got like a 96
Yeah,
or something
you're
like
like,
that.
shut
I'd rather have the
up.
person be like, I don't know how I did on that,
Yeah.
than like be the person that's like, oh my god, I did so bad. What'd you get? Oh, 89. Get out of here.
All right,
I'm not
let's
saying-
let's
Oh,
move on to
receiver, I'll
wide
do it.
receivers.
All right, Kelvin Benjamin is my stud for this week.
Right.
I think it's like more Cam Newton's like coming into his own than Kelvin Benjamin like standing out. So I think he's just going to target him more. Dud, ODB. They have him as the 4th best wide receiver, and again, this is not about him. This is about Eli.
Yes.
Eli is not going to be able to get him the ball, so he's not going to be able to put up the numbers.
It's crazy that I agree with you, even though the Eagles don't have a good secondary.
Crazy that I agree
But we're not gonna get into that. Wide receiver stud. I had Mike Evans, but I feel like that's too easy. I mean, Mike Evans is gonna get the targets. He's gonna go up and catch the ball. Too easy. He's gonna be good all season. So instead, I'm gonna go with Jarvis Landry. Showed great rapport with Jay Cutler last week. Is kind of replacing that running game for him. So he's in the slot. He's gonna get those. He had 15 targets, 13 catches. It only ended up to about 78 yards, but it's just a matter of time before he breaks one of those. For my dud, I got Randall Cobb. So Jordy Nelson might not play this week. A lot of people are expecting, since Randall Cobb's going to slide into that #1 receiver, he's going to go right on ahead. But Cobb does have that shoulder injury that he's kind of nursing as well, so I'm not expecting a big day from him.
But he's had a ton of targets from
Yes.
Rodgers so far this
Really
year.
Ton of targets because he doesn't draw the #1 corner opposite him.
So Rodgers distributes, man.
He distributes, but I mean, you take away Jordy Nelson, focus more attention on Randall Cobb. It's not going to be easy pickings for him anymore.
Okay.
Quick
Agree to
stud, and
disagree.
I don't know if I'm stating the obvious here, Michael Crabtree at Oakland.
Yeah.
He and
Oh,
Derek
yeah.
Carr just have a connection. 3 touchdowns last week. Ride that, beat the wave till it hits the beach.
It could be argued he's the #1 receiver as opposed to Amari Cooper.
Oh, wow.
All right, guys, moving on. Tight ends. Matt, you want to start this one?
Yep. Evan Ingram. I think because
That's who they took in the first round
Yeah.
instead of an offensive.
No, let's not take this.
It's literally pick on G.
I know. I think he's gonna be
Hey.
a
I
stud
love
this
it.
week. I'm picking him as a stud this week because
You're helping him out, yeah.
since
You're
Eli
getting his hopes up.
since Eli
No,
doesn't
but
have
not
to,
come out.
Eli's still gonna throw the ball. Since he doesn't have time to go downfield, he's gonna look for the tight end short, and so a lot of receptions, a lot of yards, and he can stretch the defense a little bit. Dud Delaney Walker, because Seattle, they're gonna put Thomas or Chancellor on him. He's gonna do nothing.
Jude, real quick.
Stud, I'm gonna double up. Last week I picked Zach Ertz. I'm gonna go ahead and go with it this week. He looks like the go-to target for Carson Wentz. Dud, I'm gonna go with Martellus Bennett. Bengals defense, they're not bad either. Offensively, they're terrible, so you might think they're not a good team. But
Do you
defense,
think the Bengals are gonna win the game?
No, I said tight end.
No.
Well, you
Tight end.
picked 2 duds for the Packers.
Don't put words in his mouth.
I picked 2 duds for the Packers, but they're still gonna win.
Alright.
They still have a lot of other options. Aaron Rodgers is still going to be Aaron Rodgers,
Mhm.
but just Martellus Bennett, I'm not expecting it. They've shut down the previous 2 tight ends they faced.
Sure.
So,
All
Go
right,
with that.
defense.
We'll
Who
go-
do we have? Stud, duds.
Real quick, Patriots stud. They've never lost
Who
to
would
a.
have guessed?
Spoiler
It's a
alert.
good pick, rookie quarterback. I'm
Yeah.
sure
The
Nick
Patriots have
Saban-
never lost to a rookie quarterback at home.
I'm sure Nick Saban and Bill Belichick had a conversation this week about defending Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Although Watson tore up Nick Saban in the
Yeah.
title game, so I don't know how much it'll help. But
Maybe it was like a what not to do type deal.
there you go. There you go.
Dud defense Vikings.
Stud defense, I got the Dolphins. I mean, this is kind of easy for me. I guess I should have worked a little more on it, but they're facing the Jets. I'll just pick any defense going against the Jets this season. For the dud defense, I'm going to go with the Texans. I feel like the Patriots are going to be rolling.
Real quick, anybody standing out or not standing out in your eyes?
Defensively, for a fancy pick on defense, I hate to state the obvious again, but I think the Denver Broncos defense against the Bills offense this week is a must play. And, but on that
They're
same
my
vein,
defense.
let me jump back to tight end real quick. There's one guy that's going to get a lot of catches this week for the Bills, and that's Charles Clay.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor always takes the safety valve. So there's one guy who will break out against that Denver defense, but overall they're going to get a lot of points.
Okay.
Right, perfect. Well, we didn't get to a lot of stuff in the fantasy, but we covered most of the basics. That's going to do it for us on the third week of this week on the Gridiron. Again, thank you to our Professor Brent Axe, host at ESPN Radio Syracuse and contributor and writer to Syracuse.com. He will be starting a podcast at Syracuse.com
That's right, coming
too,
soon.
so look out for that. Probably not as good as ours, but you know, he got his feet wet a little bit.
This really helped. See? I teach, you guys teach. It's a two-way road. This is fantastic.
Brooke has just been barbing everyone.
I
Nobody's
love
safe.
it. I'll be better next
We
week.
maybe can't do anything, but minus on a couple assignments there. For you.
Stop. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
And
on your
thank
host.
you to Maxwell Mitchell for calling in.
Yes.
Hi, young Ken. That's for you on Facebook Live, bud. All right, go ahead.
All right. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Brooke Minahan, Judah Loom, Matt St. Jean, and again, Brent Axe. So we'll see you next week. Same time.